Ah, yes. You know, these days I kind of get the feeling that if we weren't being lied to all day long, the government wouldn't be talking to us at all. And that means the news media, too, because the news media is a part of the Democrat government. Cat scratch fever. The lies they tell us. And when did they become such anti-Semites, so anti-Israel? This is an amazing story. There's a war going on there. If you want to walk through the middle of a war zone, you should be aware that bad things can happen there. Amazing story yesterday. And I looked at headline after headline after headline, and all the American news media are singing from the same sheet music. It's the same headline everywhere you look, rather. U.S. weapon used in deadly strike in Rafah. Just amazing. Visual evidence shows Israel dropped U.S.-made bomb. The New York Times. Isn't that amazing? And the Washington Post with the same headline and over again, Israel used U.S.-made bomb in Rafah strike. Yeah, but what really exploded was the troglodyte terrorist bomb that they were sitting on. Pay no attention to that. Just extraordinary stuff. Yeah, so over and over again, they lie to us. Israeli strike killed at least 45, and they love this story. They go on and on. It turns out that Israel used what they call a small diameter bomb, a GBU, that's a guided bomb unit 39, a GBU 39. And a GBU 39 has 17 kilos of explosive material inside. But if you they hit a direct hit on two Hamas senior leaders and killed them both, which is great. But it turns out that has 37 pounds of explosives. Now, normally we drop bombs, again, that have 2,000 pounds or 1,000 pounds or 500 pounds, maybe 250 pounds of explosive material inside. This guided bomb unit had 30, and the new ones do too, 37 pounds. It's the smallest small diameter munition that the U.S. has available, and therefore that Israel has available. And it killed the two bad guys, but they were sitting on a stockpile of munitions at the time, and that's what blew up and allegedly killed 45 Palestinians. And every headline is U.S. bomb was used in Rafah strike, experts say. And they had these clowns at the Washington Post, 4 of them typing it up together. I don't even know how you do that. Israel used precision munition according to analysis of fragments. That's a good way to do it, I think. 4 weapons experts, because 3 were not enough, said the Israeli military used a U.S.-made precision bomb in a strike that killed at least 45 people in southern Gaza on Sunday, after reviewing visual evidence provided to the Washington Post, they say. Now listen to this lie. The fragments of an SDB GBU 39, a 250-pound small diameter precision munition, were found near the site of the strike on an encampment in Rafah. Rafah is a death hole, and if you're not a terrorist murderer, you should get the hell out of there. Just saying. But never mind that. And who's hanging out with these Hamas leaders? But never mind that. Now, buried in the story, in the jump on page 12, if you go several paragraphs down, the findings do not contradict Israel's assertion. You mean that the findings confirm what Israel was telling you all along? The findings do not contradict Israel's assertion that it used a small munition, weapons experts said. Israel said it used munitions containing, quote, 17 kilos of explosive material, end quote, a weight consistent with the GBU 39. But you just told me a couple of paragraphs ago it was a 250-pound bomb. Now, when you're talking about a 250-pound bomb dropped from a military warplane, that means that the munition has 250 pounds of explosives. Not that it weighs 250 pounds of almost all steel, except for the 37 pounds of explosives. So they lie about everything. And the Washington Post fails to tell the actual story, which should be the headline. The headline should be, Israel vindicated once again. Israel was telling the truth, and Hamas was lying. And the Washington Post was lying, and the New York Times was lying, and CNN was lying, and they were all lying. In fact, the reason that there was a giant explosion that killed 45 people is not because of the little tiny 37-pound bomb that was dropped from an airplane and hit right exactly on target. A great American bomb made by Boeing. Thank you very much, Boeing, for making this excellent bomb. And hitting the target, which are terrorists. Just extraordinary stuff. But the news media lies to us about it. And why? Why do they hate the Jews? Even their Jews hate the Jews. Just extraordinary stuff. 37 pounds, but they were sitting on a stockpile of munitions, and that's what blew up the whole building and started a big fire next door. Not the little tiny, smallest bomb anybody's ever heard of, the GBU-29 with 37 pounds of explosives. Pay no attention to any of that. We're lied to so often. They love to lie, don't they? They lie. All right. There is also who was it? Nikki Haley went to Israel, and she got in big trouble with the Democrats. Why? What did she? She wrote something on a bomb when she was in Israel, and that's got the Democrats really heated. The Democrats are angry again because Nikki Haley doesn't like Hamas, and the Democrats are on the side of Hamas. And the Ayatollah loves the Democrats because the Ayatollah knows that the Democrats work for them. Now, Congressman Bowman, fire alarm Bowman, 5-alarm Bowman, you know him. He's a radical and extremist, a racist, an America-hating anti-capitalist. Jamal Bowman, his name is Jamal, so he loves the jihad. Bowman rips Haley for writing, quote, finish them, end quote, on Israeli bomb, quote, disgusting. Bowman is pro-jihad. He's a fascist. He's a genocidal anti-Semite, and he pulls fire alarms. Representative Jamal Bowman, Democrat, New York, tore into former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley on Wednesday, calling her a disgusting human being. That's what he called her. After she was photographed writing, finish them, on an Israeli bomb during a visit to the country this week. Jamal, you should have been in Rafah. Maybe you could have pulled a fire alarm and saved some jihadi lives. The message on the shell of the bomb, photographed and celebrated by Israel's former UN ambassador Danny Danon, read, finish them. Right? There you go. Finish them, America, heart Israel, always. Nikki Haley. I love it. She signed the whole thing. It's kind of a wonderful moment, I think. Finish them, exclamation mark. America, heart Israel, always. Nikki Haley. She signed it. And isn't that great? And that upset Jamal Bowman, who's named Jamal.
Nikki Haley is disgusting. She's a disgusting human being to do that. That's genocidal language.
No.
And it's the language that has the American people turning against our government. You turned against our government and our people long ago because you're a commie, racist, fire alarm pulling, pro-jihad Jamal. You're a disgusting disgrace to Western civilization. You're filth, and you're driving Western civilization to conflict. Hey, here's Jamal. Hey, Jamal. Hey, jihadis, get away from the fire, because you might die. And he's disgusting. You're a member of Congress. Try to complete your words. Try to speak as an adult might speak. Hey, Jamal. And he was interfering. That was an insurrection. He was rebelling against the elected authority and interrupting a vote in the House of Representatives when he pulled. And then you remember he lied about it. And he lied because he's a disgusting human being who doesn't complete his words. Remarkable stuff. Bowman harshly criticized Haley for the comment in a CNN interview
which came as criticism of Israel's operations in Rafah had increased after an airstrike over the weekend killed more than 45. Now, this is The Hill, a fake newspaper, and they wrote this story today, so they should already know, if they followed the news, that Israel dropped a 37-pound bomb, which the Washington Post is calling a 250-pound bomb, and that it hit yet another weapons depot that the troglodytes had stored away that they planned on using to kill every Jew they could kill. And Jamal, he thinks it's disgusting. Now, first of all, maybe you should be disgusted by the fact that Iran writes death to America on the nose cones of the ballistic missiles that they're developing as they enrich uranium and spin centrifuges, all of which is allowed by Barack Hussein Obama and Joe Biden's Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the so-called nuclear deal with Iran. Maybe you should be upset that Iran writes death to Israel and death to the great Satan on the nose cones of the ballistic missiles that they're building that they plan on using to kill us. Maybe you should be disgusted by the fact that we just learned that Iran, within the last week, has violated the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action that Barack Obama and Bolt-neck John Kerry inflicted on civilization, and that they now have 300 pounds of enriched uranium, enriched to 60%, that could be converted in a matter of days to weapons grade and put into nuclear weapons that they could use to kill millions of Jews and Americans. Maybe Jamal should be upset by that. Maybe Jamal should be on our side, but Jamal is not on our side.
There are people in our country, their entire lives, me included, seems like we're constantly at war with someone, spending trillions, killing millions, while people are suffering and starving and dying right here in our country. That is gross, that is disgusting, and Nikki Haley should be ashamed of herself.
None of that has anything to do with what happened there, and gross and disgusting, and you sound like a valley girl. You're obviously an uneducated, ignorant, unintelligent, nearly illiterate Democrat member of Congress. You're obviously virulently anti-American, and Nikki Haley is a woman and of Indian heritage, so you're also a misogynist and a racist based on your own calibrations as you people apply these things quite constantly. Just go, honestly, if he had been there to pull the fire alarm at the right time, he could have saved some jihadi lives. And lest we forget, because this is very important and we must not forget, that the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei yesterday was praising the Democrat Party. Pretty amazing stuff, your Democrat Party. And the Ayatollah in bed doing what, Democrats do in bed with Ayatollahs. I don't want to get too graphic about that. But again, the Ayatollah loves the Democrat Party. Ayatollah Khamenei yesterday on his X account, "Dear university students in the United States of America, you are standing on the right side of history." And Jamal Bowman is with the Ayatollah. It's time that Republican members of Congress and the Speaker of the House and the Trump campaign stood up and pointed out that the Democrats are being praised by the Ayatollah because he believes they're on the right side of history. Now, let's bring that to the debate stage with Joe Biden, the brain-damaged nitwit. The Ayatollah Khomeini yesterday, "Dear university students in the United States of America, you are standing on the right side of history," which is all the proof you need that they're standing on the wrong side of history. He continued, "You have now formed a branch of the Resistance Front." Now, the Resistance Front is a genocidal death cult of radical Islamic jihadis. And that is the Democrat Party being praised by the Ayatollah quite specifically, and the generation that they've raised on college campuses who are genocidal. The Nazis live on, the Soviet Union lives on, and honestly, today's college students would be the ones that overran the U.S. Embassy and took hostages. You have now formed a branch of the Resistance Front and have begun an honorable struggle in the face of your government's ruthless pressure, which openly supports Zionists, which is his word for Jews, because he's a genocidal lunatic, and Jamal and Hussein and the gang are not on our side. There is a terrible war coming in the 21st century, and we must prepare as a nation of free people. You know that a recent study reports that the rapidly declining global birth rate will lead to a major population crisis if birth rates continue to decline. While we may feel hopeless in the face of all this and the constant attack on human life, there is an amazing way to fight back. When they shout abortion, we shout life. Preborn is leading the way. Every day, the Preborn Network rescues 200 unborn babies in the United States, America alone. When a mother sees her baby on an ultrasound and hears the heartbeat, the baby's chance of a long and happy life doubles. All right? Now, the ultrasound is the secret weapon that joins the heart of the mother with her child. Preborn provides ultrasounds for clinics in the highest abortion areas, and they do it for free because we help. Can we join hands nationwide for life? One ultrasound is just $28, but any gift will help, $5, $10, and $5,000 will underwrite ultrasounds for the entire Preborn network for an entire day across the country. And all of your gifts are tax deductible no matter how much they are. To donate, all you have to do is dial pound 250 on your phone, and when prompted, you say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 and the keyword is baby, or you can go online and visit preborn.com/plant. That's me. That's preborn.com/PLANTE. Yes, sir. Yeah, the Ayatollah knows that the Democrat Party here has their back. His mission is to kill every Jew on the planet. And the Democrat Party and Jamal and Obama, the Ayatollah knows who his allies are, and so do you. All right, there was apparently just a near catastrophe at Ronald Reagan National Airport, Washington, D.C. airport, where a plane, I guess it had to abort takeoff to avoid a collision with another plane at Reagan Airport. And this is pretty amazing stuff. I shared with you a few weeks ago when the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, put out their National Outreach Program for Diversity and Inclusion. Their People with Disabilities program, where they wanted people who are totally blind, people who are totally deaf, people who are missing limbs, and people suffering from dwarfism. Dwarfism seems to be going well. We still have Joe Biden to get to, who was race pimping in Philadelphia yesterday. We've got news breaking all over the place, which is great. I love breaking news. We have NRA news out of the Supreme Court, which just happened. Supreme Court sides with NRA in free speech ruling. CNN is clearly very upset about it because our news media is not pro-free speech. Demented but true. Supreme Court sides with National Rifle Association, the NRA, in free speech ruling that curbs government pressure campaigns. See, that's why you want a Supreme Court that's not a left-wing Supreme Court, because you want free speech if you are a post-Enlightenment Westerner that believes in rights for people and doesn't support repressive governments. But the left, of course, is the very definition of repressive governments. Supreme Court sides with NRA, revives lawsuit against New York financial regulators. Separate issue. And remarkable stuff. I love our Supreme Court these days because they're on our side. They're on the side of freedom-loving people, of the Bill of Rights, of free speech, the free practice of religion. You know, those are in the First Amendment for Democrats trying to follow along at home. The National Rifle Association will get another chance to punish New York regulators who discouraged insurers and bankers from doing business with the gun advocacy group, the Supreme Court ruled unanimously on Thursday. So the radical left wings, that Sonia Sotomayor, who is the Jake LaMotta impersonator, and he was a big boxer, middleweight boxer. Robert De Niro played Jake LaMotta in the movie Raging Bull, which led to the headline in the New York Post yesterday of Raging Bull beep, with a picture of De Niro outside the Trump courthouse. The NRA sued the New York Department of Financial Services, arguing that regulators at the New York Department of Financial Services had coerced insurers against promoting policies by gun rights groups protected by the Second Amendment and the First Amendment. But regulators, led by former Superintendent Maria Vullo, argued that they were simply pointing out insurers might face legal exposure for doing business with a gun group during an era of mass shootings and major lawsuits. Well, you guys should stop shooting people, Democrats. And the NRA had no business peddling insurance. Why do they have no business peddling insurance, you arrogant little authoritarian beep? The U.S. District Court threw out most of the NRA's case, but allowed a First Amendment fight over whether Vullo was simply voicing an opinion, as a a state regulator, as allowed under the First Amendment, or coercing businesses she regulated. She regulates business, and she was threatening them and coercing them, which is not allowed. The Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals found the claim of coercion not plausible and dismissed the case entirely. But the Supreme Court overturned the appeals court. Doubtless, I'd have to look them up now to tell you that they're Democrats and Obama and Biden appointees who don't believe in the Bill of Rights and should probably be jailed, just for good measure. But the Supreme Court overturned the appeals court and a unanimous Supreme Court decision, including, that lady that doesn't know what a woman is because she's not a biologist at all. Can't tell you what a woman is. She's a woman, but she can't tell you what a woman is. This is what happens when you let Democrats choose judges, honestly. But even the three radical left-wing extremist anti-Bill of Rights Democrats on the Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that, you authoritarian beeps. They keep telling us that, Donald Trump and Republicans are going to take away your rights. Joe Biden did that again yesterday in Philadelphia because he lies all the time. Most of the time, he's not cognizant of what he's saying. So in court, I don't think, as was decided actually it was decided that, he was so doddering that he couldn't, the special counsel's investigation, Robert Hur, and the interview they did, they still won't release the audio tapes of that because they're fascists. We own those audio tapes. The American people own those audio tapes. Cough them up, fascist White House people. So the Supreme Court overturned the appeals court decision and allowed the case to continue. The NRA plausibly alleged that respondent violated the First Amendment by coercing regulated entities to terminate their business relationships with the NRA in order to punish or suppress gun promotion advocacy, Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote in the decision. Wow, that's Jake LaMotta right there. And she's siding with the NRA. That's how shameless and how flagrant this case is or was. So thank God for this. And even Jake LaMotta, I call her Jake LaMotta, that's my code name for Sonia Sotomayor. Take a look at photographs of Sonia Sotomayor's face and Jake LaMotta's face, and you'll see that there's got to be some kind of a genetic connection there. And it looks like Sonia lost a few 10-round fights, too. Now, the NRA began marketing insurance policies in April of 2017 called Carry Guard to cover legal expenses from using a firearm in self-defense. Carry Guard policies were administered by Lockton and underwritten by Insurance Chubb, the Chubb group of insurance companies, and Lloyd's of London. But the NRA wasn't licensed to peddle Insurance, and the Department of Financial Services began investigating in October 2017. Chugg and Lockton then suspended the Carry Guard program the next month because this left-wing radical extremist in the state of New York, who is a ham-handed Soviet-style regulator, is anti-Bill of Rights, and she abused her meager power to try to crush people with whom she disagreed instead of following the law. And now even Sonia Sotomayor and the United States Supreme Court said, no, you're full of it. And so the Supreme Court, with a unanimous decision in favor of the National Rifle Association, that is a moment. That is a moment. Also, another story today, in addition to maybe the, one-legged dwarf from the FAA leading to the near catastrophic collision at Ronald Reagan's National Airport in Washington, D.C. Here's another one, and also the Ayatollah praising Democrats and the mobs of anti-Semites on college campuses, the Ayatollah praising them ad nauseum, saying they're on the right side of history. Well, they've got another pro-Ayatollah Democrat who's apparently on the right side of history in New York City. Man attempts to run over Jewish students in New York City hate crime while yelling anti-Semitic slurs at Jewish students at a Jewish school in Brooklyn, New York. And it's a conservative Jewish school. The students would be identifiably Jewish. And the Democrat tried to run down all of the school children while yelling anti-Semitic slurs. I'm going to kill all the Jews, as he tries to run down students outside New York City Jewish school in anti-Semitic hate crime. Most anti-Semitic hate crimes are perpetrated in New York City in the United States of America, where 85% of the residents voted for Joe Biden and the Democrats. A maniac, the New York Post writes, tried to mow down Orthodox students and a rabbi outside a Brooklyn Jewish school on Wednesday while allegedly yelling, I'm going to kill all the Jews, in a shocking anti-Semitic attack. I wouldn't say it's shocking at this point, since the Ayatollah and the Democrats are now in bed with one another, and they're both wearing those long kind of gowns that, that's not everybody wears those. Video footage supplied by the Flatbush Sham Rim Safety Patrol shows the crazed driver revving his engine and mounting the curb. I think they mean driving over the curb, just to be clear, as he swerved toward Orthodox Jews milling around a yeshiva, a Jewish school, at around 11:25 a.m. Police and sources identified the alleged attacker as 58-year-old Asghar Ali, a Pakistani immigrant livery cab driver with a history of mental illness. This is a new thing. The Soviet Union always did this too. When people committed crimes, if the state didn't like the nature of the crime, they automatically declared the person to be mentally ill, and they filled insane asylums with enemies of the state. And this has become more common. Now, 58-year-old Asghar Ali, a Pakistani immigrant, is he really mentally ill? Maybe, but I never take that at face value anymore because it's an old Soviet trick, and as we know, they use the Russian playbook all over the place, the Democrats do. The NYPD's Hate Crimes Task Force, who the Democrats look to defund, they like to defund the New York Police Department and police departments everywhere. The NYPD's Hate Crime Task Force is investigating the case. Why? You already know who it is, and he's mentally ill. How did they decide he's got a history of mental illness? And detectives were interviewing the driver Wednesday night. Now, if he's a mentally ill immigrant from Pakistan, what the hell is he doing driving cars around New York City? And what the hell is he doing in the country? And there is video, and you can see the video. There's no audio because it's surveillance security video. And, this is the Democrat Party's America. It's what they teach on college campuses. The Brooklyn man faces more than a dozen charges, including attempted murder, attempted assault, and hate crimes charges. Cops do not believe the attack is terror-related. Wait a minute. He's a Pakistani guy named Ali, who I'm guessing is a Muslim, yelling, "I'm going to kill all the Jews." But you wouldn't want to leap to any conclusions like it's terror-related just because of the global jihad and radical Islam and the war in Israel and the Democrat Party's opposition to civilization itself. Cops do not believe the attack is terror-related, and on Wednesday night did not have evidence that he was tied to radical groups online. I don't think he has to be tied to radical groups online when he's driving his car down the sidewalk outside of a yeshiva yelling, "I'm going to kill all the Jews."
Sounds like a robbery to me.
Maybe it was a humanitarian effort. Maybe he was trying to feed. Maybe he's like, he's a caterer and he was bringing food. Maybe there's something else going on. We don't know about that. The man was driving a 2011 white Crown Victoria. I always loved the Crown Vic. That was a great car, big, roomy car, spacious cabin, and V8 engine, a great thing. And making a turn onto East 55th Street. Just amazing. Suddenly he veered toward the students, dressed in Orthodox garb, and screaming, "I'm going to kill all the Jews." You just wouldn't want to say it's terror-related because, that's pretty amazing. "I'm going to kill all the Jews," the driver allegedly seethed, according to police. Well, you wouldn't want to believe the police. Probably racism because his name is Ali. Rabbi Chwerksky, who works at the yeshiva, said the commotion, it's called a commotion now, began when the driver tried to strike one of the boys while he was on the phone. Put your phone down, kids. Put your phones down, would you? At the corner of Glenwood Road and East 55th Street, then drove on the wrong side of East 56th Street and barreled toward a group of 30 to 40 students standing outside, said the rabbi, who declined to give his first name. I don't think that's the most important thing. "I came in and the boys were like, 'Did you see the cameras?'" So the rabbi wasn't outside. "Did you see the cameras?" Chwersky recalled in an interview. "I'm more scared for them. I'm much more scared than they are. Their adrenaline is up." I would imagine that's probably true. Pretty amazing stuff. Got to have some adrenaline pumping when that happens. So this is what the Democrat Party is doing to America. They just wouldn't want to say it was terror-related. 58-year-old suspect. Here's a picture of him. There's his white Crown Vic. I always loved, I never owned a Crown Vic, but I did have a Lincoln Townhouse. Used to rent Crown Vics all the time. They're great fun to drive. Yes. Bum, ba-dum, bum. Bum, ba-dum, bum. All right, more crazy Democrat news coming up because it just keeps coming at us. We got President Trump in New York and the trial going on there, and Joseph Robinette Biden fanning the flames of racial disharmony in the United States for a few more votes, and his dim-witted wife, who's not a doctor, on The View and on with George Snuffleupagus, the Democrat Party apparatchik / ABC News anchor. Also, hilariously, the Houthi rebels fired missiles at a ship going by Yemen and blew it up at the waterline and blew it up on the deck level. And turns out it's a giant shipment of grain headed for Iran. It's probably full of munitions, really. And the Houthis are like, "Oh, so sorry, kalaka, Muhammad Jihad." All right, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Dave, calling from Silver Spring, Maryland. David, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Dave.
You know how we talk a lot about the Democrats always say the opposite. If you want to know what's going on, they always blame someone else for what they do. They always say, the Republicans do exactly what the Democrats are doing.
Yep.
Well, you couldn't see a more clear example of that than yesterday when Jill Biden came out and said, or the reporting was yesterday, I don't know when she said it, but apparently she said Donald Trump can't form a sentence. So you've got her husband, who is Elmer Fudd, and he flubs everything he talks about. And you've got Trump, who's lucid, bright, clever, witty, very expressive, very clear. And she says that Trump can't form a sentence. And it reminded me of the old joke, the old Undertaker joke, where two buddies die at the same time. They're going to have their funeral at the same time. One of them is supposed to be dressed in his favorite blue suit, and the other one's supposed to be dressed in his favorite gray suit. And 2 minutes before the funeral starts, the wives come in and they see that the mistake has been made, and the suits are on the wrong guys. And the Undertaker says, "I'll take care of it, don't worry." So the funeral goes off without a hitch, and one of the wives comes up and says, "How did you solve the problem?" He goes, "No problem. I just switched the heads." Well, that's what the Democrats are doing. They just switch the heads all the time.
I've never heard that Undertaker joke, and that's pretty. It's pretty funny, and you're right. And it was not a Dr. Jill Biden yesterday on The View with Karen Johnson, who goes by Whoopi Goldberg, because she's thought having a Jewish name would help her in show business, and she's an anti-Semite, and she's a Karen too, but her real name is Karen Johnson. But it was yesterday that Dr. Jill said that on The View, and she was also being fluffed by George Stephanopoulos on ABC Fake News, Good Morning America. And that's actually coming up. I'm going to play that for you because she lied and lied and lied, and all the liars that are paid by ABC News, from George Stephanopoulos to Whoopi Goldberg. And Whoopi Goldberg is paid by ABC News. That show, The View, is under the umbrella of ABC Fake News because it makes more money than their other news shows, so it helps balance out the books. It's a bookkeeping trick, and they should probably be in court. If Donald Trump is in court then ABC News should be in court for pretending that The View is an ABC News show. Somebody's got to go to the penitentiary for that, I think. But that's good stuff. And yeah, we do have Jill Biden and Joe Biden coming. And Joe Biden his brain is completely shot. It's a no good. She's a broke. She is a no good, that brain of his. That's coming up. And more President Trump and New York as well.